Let's be honest. We all know that feeling. Someone drops a thoughtless comment, maybe a disagreement boils over, or perhaps it's something uh, more deliberate, a real slap in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, our minds don't usually leap to, you know, instant understanding and calm.
No, definitely not.
No, it's more like that slow burn of resentment, right?
Right.
Replaying the whole thing, maybe even thinking up the perfect comeback or, well, plotting something a bit more dramatic.
That initial surge of negativity, it's almost hardwired, I think. It's a very natural reaction when we feel threatened or wronged.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting, what we're going to dig into today, is how staying stuck in that place, with the hurt feelings and the wanting payback, how that can actually hurt us way more than the other person.
Exactly. So welcome everyone to this deep dive. Today we're tackling this surprisingly tricky idea, forgiveness. Sounds simple, maybe.
On the surface, maybe.
But actually doing it, that's completely different. So our mission today is to really get why forgiveness matters and how we can even start to, well, cultivate it,
Mm-hmm.
how to move past that almost automatic need for retaliation.
And we've pulled together some really varied perspectives on this.
We're looking at philosophical ideas, spiritual wisdom, insights from religious texts like the Bible, just trying to get a really rounded view of this powerful concept.
And, across all these different sources, one theme really jumps out: the danger of holding on to those first negative feelings.
Right.
L. Gregory Jones, in Embodying Forgiveness, he puts it quite starkly. He says our anger can actually ossify into hatred.
Ossify, like turn to bone, harden.
Exactly. But he goes further. He explains that this hatred, it doesn't just keep conflict going, it actually constricts and thereby distorts the vision of the hater.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. So it's not just about feeling bad when we're angry or holding a grudge.
Yeah.
Jones is saying this deep-seated hatred fundamentally changes how we see the world, like putting on distorted glasses.
That's a great way to put it.
Could that explain why sometimes people see the same event so incredibly differently? Are we kind of blinding ourselves through our own unresolved anger?
I think that's a really insightful connection, yeah. Hatred can absolutely act like a filter. It colors our perceptions, makes us misinterpret things maybe.
Hmm.
It creates this really narrow focus so we can't see the bigger picture, maybe can't even see our own part in things.
Right.
And this really lines up with the spiritual perspective from Maharaj Charan Singh in The Master Answers. He basically says that a heart carrying grudges or hatred is, well, not pure.
Not pure.
And because of that, it can't really experience inner peace or what he calls divine grace. He says, a heart full of love has no room for hatred. It's like they just can't occupy the same space.
That's a really vivid picture, like trying to
Yeah.
hear a clear radio signal through a ton of static.
Exactly.
The negative stuff just drowns everything else out.
Yeah.
And it makes total sense that constantly replaying old hurts just keeps those feelings alive, right?
Right.
And pushes out any chance of, well, moving on.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And while that urge for revenge might feel good for a second,
Yeah, that brief flash of satisfaction.
right, but ultimately it just traps us in a cycle. As our sources point out, the saddest part of revenge is that it puts us at the same rank as those who have wronged us.
Oof. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And try to hurt them back, we become just like the person who hurt us.
That's a really powerful and, yeah, slightly uncomfortable truth, isn't it?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the heat of the moment, we think getting even will make us feel strong, maybe even justified.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, often we're just copying the exact behavior that caused us pain in the first place. It's a race to the bottom, really.
Exactly. And that desire for revenge, often it comes from feeling really vulnerable, feeling powerless and paralyzed with grief, as one source puts it.
That raw, exposed feeling.
Yes. And it's right there in those moments that the beloved Father urges us to forgive and move on. It feels almost backwards, doesn't it?
Totally counterintuitive. When we feel weakest, the advice is to choose this path that seems, well, really hard. The path of forgiveness.
Yeah.
So forgiveness isn't about saying, oh, it's okay, what you did was fine.
Not at all.
It's more about us choosing to untangle ourselves from that pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about forgiveness, what are we actually defining here? What's the core idea?
Well, the dictionary gives us a decent starting point. Something like to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense or mistake,
Okay.
to pardon someone, to overlook an offense, to give up the desire to punish. It's a deliberate act,
Yeah.
releasing those corrosive feelings. But it's crucial to remember it's an internal shift
Right.
first.
An internal shift. And it's probably not just a one-time thing, is it? People mess up, sometimes repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a limit, a point where we just say, okay, that's enough forgiving?
Well, that leads us straight to a really famous story from the Bible. Peter asked Jesus, "Lord, how many times shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times." He thinks he's being generous, right? 7 times.
Yeah, sounds like a lot.
But Jesus' answer, "I do not say to you, up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7 is incredibly revealing."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, literally about getting out a calculator.
Right, 490 times.
Yeah.
The number itself suggests the point isn't about keeping score.
Exactly.
It's about embracing a principle of what limitless mercy, just an ongoing willingness, even when it feels impossible.
Precisely that. It highlights this boundless nature of forgiveness. And our sources also touch on something else interesting, the idea that responding with forgiveness, instead of the retaliation someone expects, that can actually have a really powerful effect on the person who hurt you.
It kind of flips the script, doesn't it?
Completely.
If someone's coming at you negatively or even aggressively, they probably expect you to fire back. But the idea here is that meeting that with weapons of love and forgiveness can be profoundly disruptive in a good way.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is the suggestion that this unexpected forgiveness can lead to awe and wonder in the person who expected, bitterness or a fight.
Awe and wonder, right?
That's the idea. It can break down their assumptions, maybe even make them reflect on their own actions.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Choosing to forgive can feel incredibly hard. It can almost feel like weakness.
Oh, absolutely.
Like we're letting the other person off the hook, or even saying what they did was okay. How do we deal with that feeling, that internal conflict?
That is such a crucial point, and the distinction is vital. Forgiving someone absolutely does not mean condoning their actions.
Okay, say that again.
Forgiving doesn't mean condoning. They are two totally separate things. Forgiveness isn't saying what you did was acceptable. It's about releasing ourselves from the heavy burden of unrestrained anger, intense hostility, and bitter resentment.
So it's like dropping a heavy weight you've been carrying around.
Exactly. Think of it like that. It's about dropping that weight.
So it's less about the other person, actually, and more about our own internal freedom.
In many ways, yes.
Untangling ourselves from the negative stuff that's holding us back.
That's a huge part of it. As our source material points out, without forgiveness and absolution, we remain captive in our own emotional chamber.
Wow. Captive in our own emotional chamber.
Thereby prolonging the original pain that has been inflicted upon us. We essentially become prisoners of our own unwillingness or inability to forgive.
And that really connects to something Vilayat Khan said in Awakening, a Sufi experience. He said, not being able to forgive makes us more deeply entrenched in our suffering. We carry the wound in our hearts, and that stands in the way of our progress.
Mm-hmm. It's like constantly picking at a scab, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It never gets a chance to actually heal.
Holding on to that resentment is like this constant inner noise, this turmoil. It drains our energy. It stops us from being fully present or looking forward. Forgiveness, on the other hand, it challenges us to give up all thoughts of vindictiveness and to trust in the possibility of a better future. It's really about choosing hope instead of bitterness.
It's a conscious decision, then, to not let the past control our present and future. And that takes real inner strength, doesn't it? It's definitely not the easy option when we feel wronged.
Absolutely not. But as our sources emphasize, even in our weakest moments, we are equipped with the inner stamina to do what needs to be done to liberate ourselves from the bondage of the past.
We have that strength inside us.
The idea is, yes, we do. It's about finding that resilience and choosing a path guided by love, by a desire for inner peace, rather than just reacting out of anger.
Okay, we've talked a lot about forgiving other people. But what about when we're the ones who've messed up? When we've caused the hurt? Do the sources say anything about that side?
Yes, definitely. Maharaj Charan Singh, in Quest for Light, really highlights the importance of taking responsibility. He advises, pretty directly, if anyone feels that he has hurt someone's feelings, he should immediately make amends by admitting his fault and asking for forgiveness from the injured person.
Immediately make amends. Don't let it fester.
Right. And what's the impact of doing that for us and for the person we hurt? Why is it so important to actually ask for forgiveness?
Yeah, what does it achieve?
Well, It starts the healing process right away. It lifts those clouds of guilt and uneasiness from our own side.
That heavy feeling.
Exactly. And it opens the door for love again comes in to the relationship. It's about repairing the damage, trying to rebuild that connection.
Fostering reconciliation.
Yes. And as we touched on earlier, there's often seen to be a link between our willingness to forgive others and our own ability to receive forgiveness.
That passage from Mark in the Bible kind of nails that, doesn't it?
Hmm.
But when you are praying, first forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins too.
Precisely. It suggests this sort of reciprocal relationship. Our forgiving others is somehow tied to being forgiven ourselves.
Like it's interconnected.
It highlights the interconnectedness, yeah, of our actions and maybe our spiritual state, our well-being. It's a reminder that forgiveness isn't just a one-way street. It flows both ways.
Okay, so let's try and pull the main threads together here. What are the key takeaways?
Well, first, holding on to resentment, bitterness, wanting revenge, it ultimately hurts us the most.
Right. It distorts our view, keeps us stuck.
Yeah. Second, forgiveness is a conscious choice. It's about releasing those negative feelings for our own sake. It is absolutely not about saying the hurtful action was okay.
That's crucial. It's about our liberation, our growth.
And it can sometimes have this unexpected power to change the dynamic with the person who wronged us.
And then there's the other side. Taking responsibility when we mess up. Making amends, seeking forgiveness, that's vital too.
Absolutely. For our own healing and for repairing relationships, it's about recognizing the heavy cost of unforgiveness, really, and actively choosing a different path, a path toward inner peace.
It takes courage, though.
It definitely takes courage and a real commitment to our own well-being.
So, as you go about your day, maybe something to think about. Is there a lingering resentment, a past hurt that you might still be carrying? Even subconsciously, what might start to shift? Not for the other person, but for your own sense of freedom, your own future, if you just started to explore the possibility of forgiveness.
Yeah, just explore the possibility.
Maybe the real deep dive isn't just understanding forgiveness intellectually, but exploring, releasing a burden you might not even fully realize you're still holding on to. What new perspectives might open up if you chose to lay that weight down.